If you're a WWE superstar, there are always going to be occasions where you're at the beck and call of the company's writing team and pool of ideas. You can't just do what you want, because you'll be fired. Well, most of the time. As we know, there's usually a moment or two where an opportunity presents itself that actually allows a wrestler to try and get over using ideas they've already got in their own heads. This is smart. It's not like these people are devoid of creativity, they just need the machine to get behind them, and sometimes you've got to take that on yourself. I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 incredibly creative ways WWE stars got themselves over. Number 10, Matt Hardy shot his own vignettes. In 2005, Matt Hardy was not having a good time. He was injured, then the whole Edge Lita fiasco came to fruition, and he got fired. Sheesh. That is not what anybody wants, needs, or deserves. Proving that he did know wrestling inside and out, and it was a trait he would return to when he broke himself, Hardy took to the internet and uploaded his own vignettes highlighting a new gimmick he'd been working on known as the Angelic Diablo. During these, he ranted and raved about the company and managed to resonate with fans the world over who felt his pain. Plus you could tell he was genuinely mad, and that realism in wrestling always helps. This soon led to fans on TV chanting for Matt, which eventually got so loud he was brought back to the WWE. Who knows what would have happened if Hardy hadn't have made these videos, but you have to assume they did help get him his job back, and even more, got him over with the audience. Number 9, Nick Dinsmore took on a new persona. It's kind of funny that during his time in OVW, Nick Dinsmore was pinned as the next WWE super babyface. He had all the tools for it and Jim Cornette loved him, but in hindsight, well, we all know the deal. Seemingly realising that wasn't going to fly at the time, it was Dinsmore himself who got a meeting with Vince McMahon and pitched a whole new character, a childlike adult who was a lifelong wrestling fan. Not too surprisingly, McMahon loved it. He loved it so much, Dinsmore soon found himself on the main roster and Eugene was born. Amazingly, the gimmick did catch on for a bit and even had somewhat of a major program with Triple H that culminated at SummerSlam 2004. It's possible that Nick could have hung around in OVW and been given a shot eventually, and maybe long term that would have worked out better for him too, but that one massive persona overhaul that came from his brain quickly earned him a top role on Monday Night Raw. That's not too shabby. Number 8, John Cena rapped on a bus. While people love to compare Cena to Roman Reigns, there was one big difference. John was never the hand-picked guy, not at first anyway. When he debuted, he was presented as a painfully generic babyface who didn't really seem to be going anywhere. There was even rumours he was going to be let go at one point. On a bus ride with the rest of the SmackDown roster though, Cena started rapping, or so the story goes. Stephanie McMahon overheard it and was apparently impressed but wanted to see if he could actually freestyle. Cena busted out another rap about a can of tuna, because why not, to prove he could, and that was that. Cena became a hip-hop heel and tore down his opponents with scathing promos. He was cool, and he was a made man. Without that bus ride, however, who knows where he would be today. Number 7, Bart Gunn knocks guys out. Bart Gunn got over in the oddest way possible, especially when you remember what pro wrestling is. In a world of pre-planning, Gunn found his best days after he punched people out for real. This all went down when he won the Brawl for All tournament and sent a message to everyone that he wasn't just some goofy cowboy mid-carder. He even KO'd Dr. Death, the man who was meant to win it if WWE had had its way, and it left everyone scratching their heads. This could have actually launched Gunn to a solid level if the right moves had been made, but instead Bart was put in a legit fight against pro boxer Butterbean at WrestleMania 15, and he almost got killed. Because of course he did. This was the end of his push, but still, he had his 5 minutes by being able to hit people really hard in the face. Number 6, Dusty Rhodes embraced his awful gimmick. When Dusty Rhodes came to the WWF, his career was at a bit of a crossroads. He was ousted from power in the NWA and had to find some place to make a living. Considering he challenged Vince McMahon business-wise in a way that few others had, it's amazing he got a job at all. Then, instead of being asked to play the insanely popular everyman he had portrayed in the past, he was told to slap on a polka dot speedo and dance. So what creative thing did Dusty do to get over? He embraced it. Fully. The polka dot should have sunk Dusty from the moment he debuted. The gimmick seemingly was designed as a rib, but the man ran with it and owned the ridiculousness of it. And you know what? It worked! He didn't reach the heights he had earlier as the ultimate babyface, but fans still popped like crazy whenever he came out, which just goes to show, when someone gives you lemons, make lemonade. Tastes lovely. Number 5, John Morrison and The Miz got dirty. In 2008, The Miz and John Morrison were struggling to gain attention. They started out as adversaries, but eventually found a common enemy in CM Punk and they joined forces. The two had a similar sense of humour and flashiness to their wardrobe, and they ended up creating The Dirt Sheet, which was a sort of weekly series on WWE.com. Trust me though, it was years ahead of its time. Also, the show was absurd and just utterly bizarre, but in the best possible way. They had recurring gags like throwing powder into people's faces just like Mr. Fuji used to do, and they'd go and take photos of other wrestlers and move their mouths over the image. Plus they'd go out onto the street and insult actual wrestling fans. The skits helped the duo get their personalities over and helped them get noticed, and before long, that started to show on TV too. Everyone does this now in terms of how big YouTube has become, but The Miz and John Morrison were ahead of the curve. Number 4, Steve Austin tore into his old employer. Steve Austin was mad at Eric Bischoff and WCW after he was fired while injured, which is fair really, not exactly the nicest thing to do. ECW's Paul Heyman, however, saw him as a superstar, so called him up and gave him the opportunity to cut promos on their TV. But still, he could say whatever he wanted. Here, Austin discovered a new side of himself and quickly began cutting some of the most entertaining interviews ever. Showing far more range than he had done in WCW, he tore down Nitro and had a blast doing it. The man was awesome, and Austin later credited Heyman for helping him develop as a talent. Even though he wasn't in ECW long, his reinvention helped him finally land a job in the WWE, which eventually allowed him to become Stone Cold Steve Austin. If that isn't getting over, I don't know what is. Number 3, Damien Sandow fell down. After a pretty solid main roster debut, Damien Sandow sunk quite quickly. He lost his Money in the Bank briefcase and was basically treated like a jobber for a while. He had a bunch of dumb gimmicks and no one cared. And then he was cast as the Miz stunt double for one night, and then 2 nights, and then that's who he was, simply because he was so good at it. Sandow wasn't told what to do as Mizdow, as management hadn't put that much thought into it. The wrestler decided on his own to start mimicking everything the Miz did, and it got over like crazy. After a few nights in the role, he spontaneously decided to fall down after Miz took a bump, the crowd popped, and it all grew from there. Sandow had such joy with this and was so entertaining at it that crowds began to realise how vastly underutilised he was. When Vince McMahon talked to him about it, he told him to just keep doing what he was doing, and if they went too far, they'd pull it back. And that was it. It's a shame how it all ended, as the trigger was never really pulled properly, but this was still great and proof that you can make magic happen for yourself. Number 2, Daniel Bryan started the Yes Movement. Daniel Bryan was never supposed to make it in the way he did. After all, the whole B+ player storyline was essentially how WWE saw him. Seemingly embracing this idea, Bryan did ham things up a lot, even throwing his arms in the air like a maniac and shouting yes over and over again even if he lost. As is always the way with wrestling though, fans started to enjoy this and it slowly caught on. It wasn't enough to get him to the next level, but then WWE booked him to job to Sheamus in 18 seconds at WrestleMania 28, and that was that. Because of what the audience perceived as an unfair decision, this revolution grew stronger. The chants became more visible and louder at every arena WWE ran, and it soon became a proper movement that took over the show. Bryan would have likely become a star eventually without the chant, but there's no doubt it played a key role in helping him become one of the biggest wrestling sensations of the modern era. Number 1, ZACK RYDER created his own internet show. After years of toiling away in the mid-card, a silly internet YouTube show is finally what got ZACK RYDER over in WWE. Given that he had debuted on the main roster in 2007 and then played a lackey to Edge, he really didn't do anything after this until he did indeed start the Z True Island Long story, and that caught on big. Since he wasn't getting much TV time, this was a place where he could show off his creativity and passion for wrestling. It had terrible audio and video, but it also occasionally had Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell on it, and that more than balanced things out. Fans started tuning into it in their droves, and it soon found its way into arenas. On TV, "We Want Ryder" chants began to break out, and eventually management caved and gave him the US title. It was good for a while, until it wasn't so good. He wasn't treated well during a John Cena vs Kane feud, then Cena kinda stole his girlfriend, but still, without this YouTube show, he wouldn't have had anything. If nothing else, the man did it his way.
I am defiant.
I am defiant.
I am defiant.
Defiant.
I am defiant. I am the villain.
We are defiant.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe below, and if you're looking for more content like this, then try a few things that are floating about around my ears. It might be fun. I can't promise it though, but it might be.